Hi everyone and welcome to episode 5 of Stacks of Questions. Tonight we're going to be doing it a little bit differently, so let us introduce you to our team. So obviously you've all met me before, your illustrious host, Kimberly Jeans. I am a teacher of computing science and I'm based at Woodmill High School in Dunfermline. I've been teaching for about 16 years, mostly in the East Coast, based in Fife and Perth and Kinross. On the team we also have Morag.
Hello, I'm Morag Shaw. I'm an associate tutor at University of Glasgow. But I am based in Inverclyde and I've been teaching there for a long time, too many years to count.
Also the team we've got Colin.
I'm Colin Lamont. I am head of computing at school in Glasgow. I've been West Coast all of my, 15, 16 years career.
Awesome. And we together collectively, as you already know, maybe are the assessment team. So what we thought was, we've been at a computing conference recently, so we're going to change up the podcast this week. And let's introduce you to this new style format we're going to do today. So at the STACS conference you guys were at the end of last year, loads of participants there were asking us some questions. So we decided what we would do is draw on some of the knowledge that we have across the years of experience that we have in teaching, and we would look at some of the questions that you guys have been asking. So we've pulled out 12 of the questions that were in the pot, and we thought we would just put them on the spinner and answer some of them over the next 2 or 3 episodes. So we're probably going to manage about 2 or 3 questions, I reckon, each week. And then what we'll do is we'll pull a couple of names out the hat and we'll still have our little challenge, because I think everyone likes to see what the scores and the doors are and how we're doing each week. So guys, are you ready to answer some questions?
Go for it.
We are.
Yeah, well, we spin the wheel and see where we end up with first. Okay. So question number 10. Is it worth reading course reports? Who'd like to go first?
Well, since I'm an author, I'll go first. Yes, of course it's worth reading course reports. It's very worthwhile. It's a lovely read, pages and pages of lovely pre-bedtime reading. No, in a serious note, it is. There's always some good advice there about things that would make things a little bit, the candidates could do better in the question paper, and also in the assignment or mine, the advanced higher project.
I definitely think so. I think that for me, I don't know if you feel the same, Colin, but when I'm reading it, to me, the course reports are a better feedback than me just looking at the paper itself. The kids always say, oh, if you looked at the paper, what did you think of that question? And I'm like, but the course reports are the bit that are giving you the meat about telling you what are the kids getting right and what are they not getting right, even despite the fact you think they've taught them something really well.
But it's always quite reassuring when you look at your marks and then you look at the course report and you go, all right, well, everybody struggled with that, so that's okay. And then you can think about how you're going to maybe approach it differently next time. And it does always give wee bits of like advice, like what you should be kind of targeting in the next sort of cohort. So it is always a useful place just to dip into. The problem is I tend to read them in September whenever they come out. And then actually the time you need that information is prelim time. And beyond, when it's actually coming up to the run up to the exam. Yeah,
so actually this time of year really, isn't it? It's better to be probably looking at them.
Yeah, I think they always do. And one of the things that I think is always quite interesting is things that candidates get wrong or misunderstandings, the way they've maybe tackled a question, those kind of things, that they're very common misconceptions they've made about a question, very common errors. I think those are, it's very worthwhile reading what those have been.
Yeah.
And when you're going over the questions as an exercise with your own class, then it's been able to point out to them or deal with those things, misconceptions, bang them on the head straight away and say, no, okay, I'm getting stuck here. Ask them to explain what do you think is going on here, and then explain why that's the wrong way to approach it. That kind of thing. And I think you get that information from course reports.
Yeah, I also think as well, like for us, like in the role that we do when we're helping or we're developing CPD or working with other staff members, like when we are trying specifically to maybe come up with something that helps with analysis or evaluation that we know come up in the course reports year on year, that they still give us the feedback as to whether or not it's getting better, if that makes sense. I don't know. I kind of think that helps too, from another kind of aspect of it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's always good to see that there's improvements in certain areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so shall we spin again?
Go for it.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, so this time we're looking at question 7. What moderation should I carry out with prelim papers? Colin, I'm interested to see what you think here because you come from quite a small department, is that right?
Yes. To me, if you're moderating your prelim paper after you've done it, it's too late. Like, you have to moderate it before the kids sit it, because if there's an absolute shocker of a question in there, then you want to get ahead of that rather than you've marked all the papers and everybody's got 0 for it because there's some sort of fundamental flaw in it. So I would always advise people to edit, create, do whatever you do with your prelim paper and then get a fresh pair of eyes on it to just double check that you haven't missed a bracket somewhere that's going to totally mess up a question and totally mess up your kids. And then once they've sat the paper, that's when you're then looking at kind of cross marking and doing that sort of side of moderation after the event. But I would always kind of consider moderating the paper first before it even gets near a kid.
Yeah, me and my colleagues, I'm quite lucky that I obviously come from a big department, so the after part moderation we used to find quite easy because obviously there was so many of us that for all the different levels, you know, quite often we would mark a whole section of a paper across all the classes, so it was very consistent, the marking, so therefore the moderation was easier. But I think the before part, like we used to sit down and would do the papers ourselves, so if somebody had written one or tweaked one, then another member of the department would do that. But I think that can be really difficult for a lot of people who are just working in one person departments. So like good links with other schools and stuff are really good, I think, to try and help with that. But it can be really difficult and time consuming, as I'm sure you probably know as well.
Yeah, I think another thing about moderation, pre-moderation, if you like, before people sit it, is that it picks up, if you have adapted a question or written your own question, getting someone else to look at it does make sure you've not made assumptions that about the question, or you're writing a question with an assumption in your head that hasn't translated to words, and you've made assumption about a scenario or what you're expecting in the answer and that type of thing. So I think it is really quite important, and it's also quite important to get the marking instructions checked as well, so they will apply to, so it's more process focused than code language specific. You know, it's very focused on what the marks are being awarded for, that type of thing as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Anything to add before I move on to the third question?
No, go for it.
Yeah,
go for it.
Question number 3 is number 11. So we're on pupils' implementation marks are good. However, how can I improve their analysis and evaluation marks? Well, this is a classic question, right?
Now, if only the assessment team had thought that this question might come up and had maybe devised some sort of challenge based around that.
I know, if only. But I mean, it kind of links to what we're talking about already. It comes up in the course reports year on year on year. You guys have done quite a lot of marking, obviously involved in writing before. Like, what do you think the reasons are that people are not getting the analysis and evaluation marks right?
It doesn't necessarily just hang on analysis and evaluation, but any question where a candidate has to write actual words is a challenge. State questions we're all right with because it's just one word, but see when you go beyond a couple of words and it needs to form like a sentence, that's where
explaining, those sort of things.
Generally, computing students fall down. We can be really good at code, but it's writing those kind of more descriptive answers that's a challenge.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem is in analysis and evaluation in particular, pupils don't often get an opportunity to do it, to actually analyse anything truly from scratch or to evaluate anything, you know. So an awful lot of that tends to be rote learn, you know, it's like here's the facts, here's what you have to do, now rote learn these facts, now apply them to this, what? And they're applying them in a sort of almost pseudo exam type experience that you're actually needing to take time out and can't say the word, deliberately, there you go, set aside time to work with analysis. What is analysis? Why is it important in the software development process? Because if your analysis is wrong, the whole project is going to fail. But pupils, particularly N5 and higher, don't get that experience, because even if they get the analysis wrong in the assignment, they hand it in and they get a new one. they get a correct one given to them. So they never really learn what analysis truly is. So I think there is a big problem about it. And how can you improve it? I think deliberately taking time out to say, what is analysis? What's analysis in any problem? It doesn't have to be a database problem. It doesn't have to be web. In any problem, why is it important? What is it about? How do we do it? And then getting them to practice that skill in class.
Yeah.
Working I also, younger as well.
Yeah. I also
same with evaluation. Yeah.
Yeah, I was also going to say that I think that quite a lot of teachers, obviously computer and science teachers, are really into the coding part, and they want the kids to do really well at the coding part. So they do. I know and have been in the past guilty myself of kind of rushing those areas. You can rush through analysis and evaluation, throw something at them. You can, show them resources that you've got, but actually you spend the majority of the time trying to get them as comfortable as possible to code, because that's where the big marks are. And then we know that consistently they're not getting the small mark questions right. The analysis, the evaluation, and they're maybe worth a couple of marks here, but they're all the ones that add up, aren't they, to get like the higher grade or the pass mark that the kids are looking for. So I think that we can be guilty of rushing it. So hopefully what we'll do over the next few weeks is maybe come up with some little hints and tips that people can use. And actually, this reminds me, you guys might not remember this because you were busy doing your challenge, but Maggie talked a lot about how she pulls quite a lot of the questions out in a previous episode, about how she pulls out some of the stuff from assignments and uses them in starters and plenaries. And that's, again, another idea maybe people could use to try and improve the scores that the kids are coming up with as well.
Yeah, it should be. I think computing teachers sort of say, it's easy marks, but it's not. It's very, very difficult, especially if they haven't got practice at doing it. If they're not confident doing it for themselves. So they need to be given SQL queries, or they need to be given a website, and as a class exercise, jointly evaluating it in groups or that type of thing, actually building up that confidence that, yes, we can answer this, and therefore they can write it themselves rather than rote learn an answer, rote learn some schematic. You must always say this, the query must, or that type of thing. So I think there's a big problem in how we go about delivering all that content.
Yeah. And also the mind maps we created were quite good I find that has really helped my kids with the analysis. The mind, like the mind maps of how to do the analysis, functional requirements and stuff, that's really helped. So if anyone hasn't used them, then tap us up and we're quite happy to show you where they are. Sorry, Colin, I butted in. What were you going to say?
I think in terms of the structure of the assignment as well, the analysis always comes first, and it's always do the analysis and hand it in. And kids just want to get to the code. And they just want to write some words on the bit of paper and give me the next bit. And they don't value it as valuable marks that they can get. And maybe that is a kind of mentality that's coming across because of the lack of time that is spent in the classroom tackling those types of questions. So I think it's probably something that we all need to just take a wee bit more time with, to actually say that this is where you can get marks, and it's not just a step to get into the code. It's a valuable piece of documentation that you can then actually get in the bank before you move into the code.
Yeah, I think part of the problem for the assignment is that there's no consequence of handing in rubbish, of just saying, of taking 5 minutes over it, rather than actually spending 15-20 minutes on that task and thinking through, right, what can I do, or how can I approach this, what's it asking me to do. There's no consequence in not doing that, because you just hand it in and they'll get them given to them anyway. So I think that practice then goes through to higher, and we definitely see it at advanced higher when analysis is badly done, really badly done. And as a consequence of that, evaluation is also badly done, because the same candidates don't understand that what they're saying are the requirements actually are therefore what they should be using to evaluate their solution. So they're not seeing the link between the two things.
Yeah, they rush it at the end or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I think that's all really, really valuable. So we've answered quite a lot of stuff there. I think we'll move on to our challenge for the week, if you guys feel comfortable. You're right.
Go for it.
Yeah, and we'll let you know what we're going to be doing. Okay, so this week's challenge is we're going to create a 5-minute class task to help improve your pupil scores in the assignment on evaluation. So we know it's the time of year for the assignments. You're getting your kids prepped, you know, you're getting near probably the end of your courses and start to prepare them. As we've just spoke about, I think in 2 of those questions that have come up, analysis and evaluation are 2 of the main areas where the kids struggle and they don't get marks. So ahead of time, we'd already thought about this challenge. So it really links in. So what we're going to do is, because there's just the 3 of us this week and we need a judge, we're going to pick randomly 2 people to go head to head with each other on this challenge. And then the other person will be the judge of the week. So here is our wheel. Are we ready? So challenging for the red team this week is me. I'm slightly scared, having not challenged before, so we'll see who I'm up against. You guys have done pretty well so far in your scores, and I am up against Colin, which means Morag, you're in charge this week to be our judge. We'll head off.
I am very happy. I am very happy.
So we're going to create a 5-minute challenge, Colin, on something that will help our kids do evaluation. And we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes and we're going to come back and share with you our ideas. Are we ready?
Go for it.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, then that's your 10 minutes up. So how have we done? Kim, over to you first for the red team.
Okay, I don't know how you guys do this every week. I was feeling stressed as anything. So I've not quite finished, but this is what I've come up with. So I can't decide if this would be a PowerPoint that would be up on the board sort of as you were leaving and you would get the kids to do it together, or I think that actually might be just nice to set as like a wee assignment on Teams that the kids could hand back in. But I came up with all the whites in the middle are comments that you might see as part of evaluation, and then what I wanted the kids to do is to change each colour of the box to what type of evaluation it suited. So I did the National 5 one just because it was in my head. So you can see there I've done one about like my code is, and I've put the X in because obviously I would want the kids to try and make sure they're using the correct words when they're displaying it. So I thought these were nice sentences that they could maybe drag and drop into tasks and change them as they see fit. So my code is X because it has internal commentary, which means that, and then went on to explain it. My code is X because it uses extended selection statements instead of 2 separate if statements. So talking about efficiency. You can see that I've been doing the National 4 cycling program with my National 4s this week because I've used the miles cycle per week average on there. So I tried to include one of each one, but I deliberately haven't done 4 so that it has to make the kids think a little bit, because obviously there's 4 answers and there's 6 of them they need to code. So that's what I came up with. That's my idea.
Well done, Kim. I like that. I like that a lot.
Okay. My idea originally was going to be like bins and maybe they would pull them down, you know, like make it a wee bit interactive. But I think that actually everybody doing it would probably be more beneficial. So handing it out to the kids.
Yeah, it would be useful also to have it as a reference point as well, because that's one of the things about creating resources that they can make use of during assignments. So anyway, for now, let's see what Colin has come up with for the blue team. Over to you, Colin.
So I kind of went with a similar theme that was like almost finish off this sentence. And then if you were marking it, which sentence would you give the mark to? So the first statement, my code is fit for purpose because ... A, it does everything. B, it doesn't work. C, I've used arrays and standard algorithms. D, it meets all the requirements. And you're looking at that saying, right, it's fit for purpose because it does everything. Well, what's everything? Like, you've not told me anything at that point. I don't know what it's meant to do, so I don't know whether you've done everything or not. Your code would not be fit for purpose if it doesn't work. So you're trying to kind of pull that out. C, I've used arrays and standard algorithms. So what? Like, why? What was the point? Like, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's fit for purpose. And then D, it meets all the requirements. That's the one that you're trying to kind of hammer home to say it's only fit for purpose if it does everything that it was meant to do and it meets all the requirements. And that's what you were saying earlier, Morag, about going back to the analysis stage and saying, here are my requirements and these are all the things it needs to do. And look, here's my completed program or database or whatever, and here's all the things it actually does. And then I did another one on efficiency, which is kind of the same sort of idea. My code is efficient because, and then finish off that sentence. It uses a loop. All right, but how does that make it efficient? It works. Well, no, that's to do with fitness for purpose. It has fewer lines of code. I love these answers. Fewer than what? Fewer than a million? Fewer than 10? What are you talking about? And then I've used an array to store, and then those ... would be something kind of program specific, so actually relating to the content of the task rather than individual variables. And again, that's the one that you would want them to be going for, because that's the one that's actually got some evaluation in it. My kind of mantra is always during evaluation, don't tell me what you've done, tell me why you've done it. Because it's not just I have used this. It needs to be I have used this because I've used it for this purpose or this reason, to actually get that evaluation into things. So that was mine.
Well, thank you, Colin. Yes, that's good. Like those, nice and short, starters, or if you like, exits as well. So it could be used for either. So it's up to me then to make a decision. No guest to hand over to. Well, I think one of the important things about evaluation is that pupils need to make sure that they respond with reference to their own code. So I particularly like Kim's, because Kim's boxes all refer to code and to statements within the code, and I think that's a really good practice, and that's what they need to be able to do in the assignment. Colin's refers to the code in the second one because it talks about efficiency and the array used to store the list of names or the list of ages or whatever, instead of using individual variables. It doesn't really talk about the code particularly, it just says, and so my problem with the first one is that it meets all the requirements and kind of needs a little bit more, because that's one of the issues that we always have at advanced higher. So just that statement alone is enough? Not really. So I am going to award the win to Kim.
Woohoo!
Well done, Kim.
Well done.
Thank you very much. I'm buzzing.
So over now to see the scores and the doors. So we have score on the red door is 4 and the score on the blue door is 1.
Well, thanks for joining in, guys, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Hopefully some of that was useful and you can use some of the resources in your classrooms at home, and we will see you all for episode 6 next week. See you later, guys. Bye.